Hang on. I gotta get my glasses to help me think. That always helps me like run through smoother. And I have to go back from this whole run. So, this is my review on Lilo and Stitch, Disney's Lilo and Stitch, this one, the first one. So, the movie is about this alien called 626, created by Jumbo, and he's on trial for evil experimentation. And he is proven guilty. Because the court brought the evidence that he created another thing called 626, and he says 626 is not a monstrosity. This is 626. He can see in the dark. His only purpose is to destroy everything and can climb on walls. And the court says, so it is a monster. And he laughed at this way, he laughed and he says, just a little one. Just a little one. So he gets in prison, and 626 breaks free from the alien ship with the help of his saliva, because he figures these guns that can track his DNA will shoot anything that's his DNA. So he uses his saliva and to escape by spinning on the main guard that's guiding 626 in the door, and he takes the red ship. Took the red cruiser, which was the really nice one, I guess, and he goes turbo in speed, and he lands on Earth. Jumbo and Plinkly. So the one who works for the council, sort of. He's kind of like this nerd of the council that knows a lot of stuff, but doesn't really do this. There was a lot of paperwork. And this guy that created 626 now has to capture him alive and bring him to justice so they can tear him apart. That's dark. So they try a bunch of plans, but it doesn't work because he meets this friend called Lilo, and first Stitch uses her because he needs to keep himself alive, but then he starts to bond with her, and she instantly loves him for the first second she sees him. It's pretty beautiful, actually, when you think about it. And she decides to give him a name, and she thinks that he's a dog, has no idea that he's an alien, and she decides to call him Stitch. And last night he says, and this owner of the pet shop says all dogs possess except for that one. and her sister says, "What is that?" It's a dog, I think, but it was dead last night. It was, and she was like, "It was what?" Well, we thought it was hit by a truck. And it's Leo says, "I like him. Come here, boy." And so just comes there to Leo, and he revealed to her that he could talk, and he just says hi. When she was like searching for other dogs, and he was the only one that was around because all the other dogs were hiding from him. So, she said like, not like him, he can talk, and this pet owner points out how dogs can't really talk this week. Says dogs can't really talk. And so Stitch decides to not talk again because he learns that, and he hides his extra arms and also his antennas from his head and his back, from his head to the antenna from his head and the antennas from his back spine. He hides them all from Leo so he can pose as a dog. And so Jumbo are on the hunt for Stitch, but the girl keeps on getting away because it's Stitch's plan. Oh yeah, I told you. Okay, so Nani's like having trouble finding a job because she got fired from her other job. So she's having trouble finding a job. Well, Lilo and Stitch are just hanging out and chilling and getting to know each other. He starts to learn how to dance, do the hula like Lilo, and because she teaches him to dance. And Stitch starts to get attached to Nani and Lilo, and he starts to figure out what he really wants in life. And she reads him the story of the ugly duckling that he's sad because he's all alone and no one wants him. But then he finds a family and he knows where he belongs. And this is kind of foreshadowing the end of the movie. And it's touching at the end. This agent that comes to expect if Leo's happy, Nani mistranslated the things that Nani says. She said discipline was bricks. So she mistranslated the thing that Nani was telling her to say. She just says yes. He says indifferent, and she just says, "Oh no," and said it was bricks. So it didn't go well. So if she doesn't get a job, Leo's going to be taken away from her. In the meantime, John and Blink are getting into all sorts of, trying to get Stitch. And, well, Lilo and Stitch are bonding. I really like the scene when he actually decides he wants to go, he can't swim, but he wants to go surfing. He can't swim. And he tries having fun by himself by building a sandcastle, but he's just not having fun and being happy. So he wants to go swimming go surfing with Nani and Lilo, and also David, which is Nani's sort of boyfriend. So Jumbo and Pleat get the drop on Stitch, and he accidentally dragged Lilo down with her. She gets rescued, don't worry. She's okay. But Stitch is also drowning, and I guess he gets rescued. And the guy that came to the house and knows that Nani's trying, but he wants what's best for Lilo. it takes her out of the picture, and he tells her to think of it about it. So because she can't find really a job because Stitch keeps on losing his temper or getting in shenanigans with getting in trouble with Lilo. So Stitch finds himself responsible, and David finds him responsible because he says David does a really dick thing to say to Stitch is, I thought we actually had a chance until you came along. And because of this, Stitch decides to take the ugly duck book away and run away, and Leo knows that he knows that he never really felt any love, and could tell that because that's why he gets angry. Because you can tell that's why he gets angry and wrecks things. So she just says goodbye to her, and the next morning, Leo and Nadia is about to say goodbye, and then David comes over with an opportunity that says he's got a job interview, but in a hurry. So when she comes back, the house is destroyed because Stitch was in a fight with Jumbo and Pinkley, and Stitch was looking at the story of Ugly Duckling, and he says he's searching for something, and Jumbo wants to know what it is, and he said family, and he says you don't have one, and he says man I could, and he explains that he built him when he was made to destroy stuff. And then he gave him a greater purpose than that. And Jumbo, this is explaining that when Jumbo's talking to Pinkley, and he feels bad that Jimmy gave him a greater purpose, other than to destroy everything. So, the night when Lilo and Naya's grieving over that they might never see each other again, they sing the song Aloha, and throughout the film, not Aloha is the meaning of family, and also means goodbye. Apparently, in this movie, so Stitch starts to understand the meaning of Aloha, and after the battle with Jumbo and Pinkley, he says Aloha to Nani. After Nani beats the crap out of him because she's freaked out, and this is after Lilo is shown his true form by Stitch and what he really looks like, and she finds that he's actually he's an alien like Jumbo and Pinkley, and she just tells him to get lost. And this guy Gento, who's a big dummy, who kidnaps Lilo, so it's up to Stitch to save her. And so they get a help from Jumbo and Pinkley are going to help rescue Lilo because Stitch finally understood the meaning of family, and he says he tells Jumbo to help him in his own words. He says he's like splits his sweatshirt and says, "What? After all those things you put me for, you expect to help you just like that?" And he says, "Yep." Okay, and he says he's very persuasive. He says that to Pinkley. he's nuts. So they go to save Leo while flying this giant red spaceship, and Lilo gets Stitch jumps onto the spaceship, and he comes off in the spaceship, gets off the spaceship, and gets knocked off the spaceship. Then he finds a clever way to get back on the spaceship, and he gets Leo free, and Leo says he came back, and Stitch says no one gets left behind. It's so beautiful. And so Jumba and Pliggly save Lilo, and Dan2 failed to bring 66 into custody. And by the time they get onto shore, after you think they had the happily ever, Stitch gets hold down and put the cuffs on him. And he says, and she says to Dan2, Jumba, and Pliggly, the idiots, the head of the council, says that they're idiots and you're completely useless. And it says, this is all your fault, Dan2. If it wasn't for 626, and Stitch says, Stitch. Yes, well, thank you, Stitch. If it wasn't for Stitch, and she's like, it says, hold on, and he says, does Stitch have to go on the ship? And she says, yes. Can Stitch say goodbye? Yes. And he says, thank you. And she asks, and he goes over to hug his family, and Lilo and David, and the head of the council asks, who are they? And Stitch answers, this is my family. I found it all on my own. It's small and broken, but still good. So he usually goes in the ship, and Blink asks, he really has to go in the ship, and the head of the council says, I can't change what the council has decided. So, this guy, that was going to take Lilo away, says to Lilo, do you still have that thing from, that thing when you, took Stitch, and that piece of paper that when you took Stitch in, that you signed, and you paid for him? And so, she actually explains, Lilo shows the head council the thing, and that he pays money for it, and he owes him. He's owned by her, and he says, if you take him, you're stealing. And this guy, his name is Mr. Bubbles, and he used to be an FBI agent. And he convinced that these creatures were dangerous species, so he helps them to rebuild Nani's house, bigger and better than ever, has more room than ever. So, and Bubbles is now part of the family. Bubbles becomes part of the family, as you see in this montage of pictures and video clips. So Stitch gets to stay with his family, and he celebrates all the holidays together. And that is Lilo and Stitch. I really love this movie, so thumbs up.